With the Quest 3 announcements, we already know that it's going to have a next-generation Snapdragon processor, giving it much more power. What we learned this last week, though, on an episode of Boz to the Future podcast, of course, Boz referencing Meta's CTO Andrew Bosworth, that not only are we going to have a better processor for more performance, but with much better cooling, we will actually be unlocking additional performance in the chip even. It was said on the podcast, and this is paraphrased, that it really is one of the coolest engineering work they've done on the headset. It's not something that you're going to really be able to see from the outside. There's a pinstripe running around the faceplate, similar to how the original Quest 2 had fans at the top and bottom that would run air through that little slit around the front faceplate. And as we can see in the revealed Quest 3, the pinstripe around the front looks more open, potentially giving more room to create that extra cooling. This can account for probably the 2 to 2.5 times performance boost they're saying it'll have over the Quest 2, because as a lot of people didn't know, the Quest 2 came underclocked from the factory because it had so much heat to deal with and so much throttling. This makes me really excited to see the teardowns on the Quest 3 when they come out, to see what exactly they've done and engineered to help with this cooling. Continuing the tradition from previous Quests, Quest 3 is going to continue to support PCVR thanks to Oculus Link, whether that's AirLink, a link cable that you've been using, or any other solution. This is a welcome decision by Meta for a lot of PCVR enthusiasts. As the Quest has really taken over the VR market, we've gotten less and less PCVR options that are of a similar or cheaper price like the Quest. This means that going into this next generation, there will still be a $500 new headset that will be supported by PC, where other headsets we've been following cost $1,000 or potentially way more. This makes me curious out there, how many of you use your Quest regularly with a PC? Let me know in the comments what games on PC are still taking you back to PC, making it worth it, or is it even the same games with just the better graphical fidelity you get on PC? Of course, with Apple Vision Pro being announced this last week, other VR companies are going to be nervous, excited, or reacting in one way or another, and we now know what Mark Zuckerberg has told his staff so far about the Apple Vision Pro. This meeting was streamed and in person with Zuckerberg and a lot of the associates at Facebook, and then of course that stream ended up getting leaked and transcribed, but basically Zuckerberg had said that he was happy. It was good news that Apple really didn't have any magical kinds of solutions to the problems that are already being faced in the VR and AR industry, and that a lot of the technology that's going into their new headset is things that have already been explored and thought of by other companies, including Meta. Mentioning, of course, that Apple Vision Pro's headset does have great resolution and looks like a future of spatial computing. He didn't seem concerned at all about this, because he said that obviously it's 7 times the cost of the new Meta Quest 3. They're making the Quest 3 more approachable at a price that people can afford them, and potentially even afford multiple for family members, so that people can be playing things together, where in the ads for the Apple Vision Pro, you saw a lot of just one person by themselves on the headset. Zuckerberg even stating that that solo vision of future computing was not what he wanted to see. And Zuckerberg finished this by saying that he was more excited and optimistic, seeing that Apple was trying to emulate a much higher premium edition of what Meta had already been trying for. We did a full breakdown talking about the new Apple Vision Pro, so I'll leave a link to that up in the corner in case you missed it. Of course, meet me over there, but let me know here too what you're thinking about the Apple Vision Pro. Obviously at $3,500, it's extremely expensive and very premium device. It looks like Meta will most likely continue to retain the bottom of the market, with Apple potentially trying to take over the top. It does worry me for everybody in between, because that's a hard place to be in business. As we've discussed, the Apple Vision Pro looks to be the cream of the crop, the top end of most all specs in any headset that's out there. But interestingly, one that's been confirmed now is that it's mostly going to run at 90 hertz. 90 frames per second is a pretty common standard now in the VR industry for most headsets, but premium headsets usually push for higher, even with the PSVR 2 able to go to 120, Valve Index 144, and others beyond that. Now, the Apple Vision Pro is usually going to run at 90 hertz, except it may run to 96 hertz when you are consuming content like movies. The reason for that being that movies are typically mastered to 24 frames per second, and 24 goes into 96. A lot of times frame rates really drain batteries, so that might be a reason why Apple locked this in at 90 to get that 2-hour battery life. Depending on what kind of panel they're using, frame rates could be upped in the future, so this doesn't necessarily mean this will be the final number, but it's an interesting detail to see that they chose this when everything else on the headset just blows everything else out of the water. We've talked to you before about the Bigscreen Beyond headset, the headset coming from the makers of the Bigscreen VR app, where you can watch movies with friends inside of VR. Pre-production models of the headset have made it out to some reviewers, but Bigscreen is now saying there are still optical improvements that they've found to increase the field of view and the clarity of their upcoming headset, and those are actually going to go into these units before it's launched this fall. They announced several key optic breakthroughs, from an improved field of view going from 93 degrees to 102 degrees, which actually puts it ahead of the Quest 2 Reverb G2 2 and even the Vario Aero, the pixel density is going up to 32 pixels per degree, and these new improvements are even going to help with clarity, the sweet spot, less artifacting such as glare, and even an increased IPD range going from 55 to 72, which is one of the wider IPD ranges we've seen, accommodating more people's face shapes. We know that the headset is launching sometime in late 2023 at about $1,000, and people have been really excited about this headset, not because of its great specs, but because of the size of it. I can tell you personally from holding one, checking it out, it is unbelievably small for a VR headset compared to what we're used to. Of course, as I mentioned before, biggest news of the week, Apple Vision Pro headset, which we have a whole other link that I'll leave a pinned comment and in the description in case you want to check that full video out. What else has you excited in this industry right now? I know a lot of us are sitting around waiting on Quest 3, some of us waiting on some of these new PC headsets to drop. I'm really hopeful that maybe there's a chance somehow we'll get to go to a convention, test out that Apple Vision Pro, because that has me really intrigued. But let me know what you're thinking in the comments. Thank you for coming out. I will see you in another reality.